in Mago Reddit. Today's story is
My perfect wedding turned into a nightmare when an unexpected guest stood up during the toasts and revealed my husband's dark secret. I never thought my wedding day would turn into the nightmare it ended up being. For over a year, my fiancé Ryan and I had been meticulously planning every aspect of our big day. From the floral decorations to the music and the venue, everything had to be perfect. I thought I was marrying the love of my life, but I had no idea how much he had been hiding from me until it was too late. Ryan and I met 3 years ago, and our relationship seemed wonderful, or at least that's what I thought. He was charming, attentive, and always seemed to have my back. We moved in together after a year of dating, and I felt like everything in my life was falling into place. When he proposed a year ago, I accepted without hesitation. I felt lucky to have him, and he often expressed feeling the same about me. I didn't know much about his previous relationships, and I didn't ask too many questions either. He had mentioned an ex-girlfriend called Jessica a few times in passing, but from what he told me, they had ended on good terms, and she had moved on with her life. I had no reason to think that she would ever become part of our lives. The wedding day started wonderfully. My friends and family surrounded me as I got ready, and it all felt like a dream. The venue looked perfect, and my heart was racing with excitement, but as I walked down the aisle, something felt strange. Ryan seemed distracted, and there was a slight murmur among the guests. When I reached his side at the altar, I noticed that his gaze was constantly directed towards the back of the room. I looked back, and there was Jessica. She wasn't on the guest list, and I had no idea how she had found out about the wedding. She was standing there, completely shamelessly, wearing an outfit that was too attention-grabbing for someone who hadn't been invited. My stomach sank. I tried to ignore her, focusing on Ryan and the ceremony, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. Ryan's hand was sweaty in mine, and he looked pale. After the ceremony, during the reception, I pulled him aside to ask him what was going on. He played it down, saying he was just nervous. I didn't believe him, but I decided to let it go because I didn't want to ruin the day. The tension became unbearable during the reception. Jessica didn't stay quiet in a corner. She made her presence felt, moving among the guests and chatting to them as if she were an old friend of the family. I overheard snatches of their conversations and shuddered. She implied that she knew Ryan better than anyone else there and mentioned how she had seen him at his worst and best. She seemed to be performing for an audience, carefully planting seeds of doubt among the people who were there to celebrate our marriage. At one point, I saw her talking to my maid of honor, Anna Lauren, and that was my limit. Lauren gave me a sympathetic but confused look, and I walked over furiously. Before I could say anything, Jessica turned to me with a wry smile and said, "Oh, there you are, dear bride. I was just telling Lauren about Ryan's little adventures." I could feel my face burning as I pushed Ryan away again, this time demanding answers. That's when he let the first bombshell drop. He admitted that Jessica had shown up uninvited, but swore he didn't know how she had found out about the wedding. He begged me to let it go for now, promising to explain everything later. I didn't want to cause a scene, so I reluctantly agreed, but I couldn't concentrate on anything else for the rest of the night. Things got worse during the speeches. My father had just finished his emotional toast when Jessica stood up without invitation and clinked her glass. The room went silent, and I was frozen. She congratulated us, but she made it sound like she was giving a eulogy. Her tone dripped with sarcasm, and her words were laced with so many personal details about Ryan that I felt like a stranger at my own wedding. She talked about their time together as if it had been some epic romance, dropping vague but shocking comments about how some bonds are never truly broken. I felt sick. When he finally sat down, I couldn't bear it any longer. I grabbed Ryan and demanded the truth. That's when he admitted there was more to the story. Jessica wasn't just an ex. She was someone he owed a lot to. During their relationship, Ryan had made some bad financial decisions. He had borrowed a significant amount of money from Jessica to cover debts and risky investments, and never paid her back. She had been pressuring him to repay her ever since. He claimed that she had threatened to sue him and expose his financial problems, which could ruin his career. He swore that he had been trying to handle it discreetly, but she had escalated things by showing up at our wedding. I was stunned. This wasn't just about money. It was about trust. Why hadn't she told me any of this before? Why hadn't she sorted it out before we got engaged? And most importantly, why was I allowing her to hijack our wedding? He looked desperate and begged me to believe that he hadn't invited her, but his refusal to ask her to leave felt like a betrayal. He said he was terrified of what she might do if he upset her, but all I could think about was how he'd allowed her to humiliate me in front of everyone we cared about. I tried to get on with the rest of the evening, but inside I was seething. My family could tell something was wrong, and my mother pulled me aside to ask if I was okay. I lied and said I was just overwhelmed, but I felt like I was falling apart. By the end of the night, I couldn't hold it together anymore. I confronted Ryan one last time, and that's when the second bombshell dropped. Apparently, Jessica wasn't just threatening to sue him for the money. She also claimed to have some compromising evidence of their time together. Photos and messages that could paint Ryan in a terrible light. She didn't tell me exactly what they were, but she said they could destroy his reputation and career. I had been trying to keep her happy, to stop her from going public. I felt like I was in a bad movie. How had my life come to this? I couldn't stay. I told Ryan I needed space and left. I left him standing there in his suit, looking helpless, while I went back to the hotel we were supposed to share that night. I locked myself in the room and cried until it was hard to breathe. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but it had turned into a complete disaster. I didn't even know who Ryan was anymore. How could he keep so many secrets from me? How could he let her ruin everything we built? The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls and texts from Ryan. He was apologizing, begging me to talk to him, but I couldn't bring myself to answer. I stayed in bed all day, going over everything in my mind. The way he looked at Jessica, the way she talked about him, the way she let him stay. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than he was telling me. A couple of days later, I decided to write this down to make sense of it all. I haven't spoken to Ryan since that night, and he's been texting and calling nonstop, but I can't answer. I feel like I don't even know him anymore. This wasn't just about Jessica showing up at our wedding. It was about Ryan keeping secrets and prioritizing someone else over me on what was supposed to be the most important day of our lives. Where do we go from here? What am I supposed to do now? How do you rebuild trust when you feel like the foundation was never there? Do I forgive him for hiding so much from me? Or do I walk away from the person I thought I would spend the rest of my life with? How do I explain this to my family, to my friends, to myself? Update 1. It's been a few days since I left the wedding, and I'm still staying with my sister. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Calls, text messages, voicemails, all from Ryan. He's relentless, begging me to come back, at least to talk to him. I haven't replied yet. I don't even know what I would say. Every time I think about our wedding day, I feel a mixture of anger, sadness, and humiliation. This was supposed to be the start of a beautiful new chapter, but instead I feel like I'm trapped in a twisted soap opera. Yesterday, Ryan finally sent me a long message, explaining everything, and he told me more about what has been happening, and, honestly, it left me more confused than ever. Apparently, the loan Jessica gave him wasn't just a small favor. It was tens of thousands of dollars, enough to cover debts he had accumulated from some reckless investments before we even met. She bailed him out when no one else would, and he hasn't been able to pay her back since. But it doesn't end there. She is threatening to expose what he called embarrassing details about their past relationship, things that could ruin his career and finance. From the way she described it, it's not just embarrassing, it's potentially devastating. She didn't go into specific details, but she mentioned photos, messages, and emails that paint him in a bad light. I don't know what they contain, and I'm not sure I want to know. All she said was that if these things were made public, they could destroy his reputation and cost him his job. He claims he didn't tell me before because he was trying to protect me, but I don't believe it. If he really cared about protecting me, he would have sorted this out long before it exploded into our lives, at our wedding of all places. Staying at my sister's has been a lifeline. She's been incredible, letting me cry, let off steam, and sit in silence when I need to. Although she's furious with Ryan and keeps telling me I deserve better. I know she's right, but it's not that simple. It's not easy to walk away from 3 years of memories, from a life we built together. Part of me still loves him, but another part feels like I don't even know who he is anymore. Every time I go over the events of the wedding, more questions arise. Why didn't he tell me about the loan when things got serious? Why didn't he sort this out before proposing to me? And most importantly, why didn't he tell Jessica to leave the wedding? He let her stay. He allowed her to humiliate me. And for what? To protect himself. To keep his secret safe. I've been thinking a lot about our relationship and all the warning signs I ignored. Ryan has always been a bit reserved, but I put it down to him being a private person. He wasn't the type to share every detail of his day or talk much about his past. At the time, I thought he was refreshing, even mature. I've been with people who overshare or make everything about them, so Ryan's quiet and reserved nature seemed like a welcome change. But now I wonder how much more he's been hiding from me. How many other lies or half-truths are waiting to surface. Looking back, there are moments that now stand out. Like the time I found a strange charge on his credit card statement and asked him about it. He dismissed it as a mistake and said he had already disputed it. I believed him because he gave me no reason not to. Or all the times he got defensive when I asked him about Jessica after bumping into one of her friends in a cafe. He said she was part of his past and not worth investigating. I let it go because I trusted him. I've also started to notice how much control Ryan always seemed to have in our relationship. Looking back, it's as if he was always at the wheel, steering things exactly the way he wanted. At first, I didn't think anything of it. He planned our vacations down to the smallest detail, where to go, what to do, even the red threads with ETAP. I thought it was sweet how much effort he put into making things special for us. When he suggested we move in together, it felt natural, like the next step we were both ready to take. When it came to planning our wedding, he had a say in almost everything. The venue, the guest list, even the color palette. I thought he was just being proactive, and that he wanted to be as involved as I was in making our big day perfect. But now I can't help but wonder if it was more than that. Was it really about being active and engaged, or was it about making sure I didn't have too much room to ask questions? Did he think that if I kept myself busy with what was in front of me, I wouldn't notice the cracks in the foundation? What hurts the most, however, is how public all this has become. The humiliation feels like a weight I can't shake off. My family, my friends, they were all there. They saw Jessica do her scene, and they saw me standing there trying to hold my ground as my whole world fell apart. The pity in their eyes is something I can't forget. My wedding day, the day that was supposed to be full of love and happiness, became a spectacle. I was at the center, exposed and vulnerable, with no way of stopping it. My mother has been calling me nonstop, checking up on me to see how I'm holding up. She keeps asking if I've spoken to Ryan, if I'm coming home, if there's any chance we can work this out. I know she's trying to be understanding, but I can tell she's heartbroken too. I loved Ryan like a son and was so excited to officially welcome him into the family. And then there are my friends. I haven't even begun to face them yet. The thought makes my stomach churn. Meanwhile, Jessica seems to be enjoying the chaos she has caused. I haven't heard from her directly, but one of my bridesmaids mentioned that she posted something cryptic on social media, a photo of a wedding cake with the caption, "Some stories are just not meant to have happy endings." I was furious when I heard that. What kind of person does something so cruel? Part of me wants to confront her and demand answers, but I know it won't solve anything. She clearly enjoys having this power over Ryan and, by extension, over me. I don't know what to do next. Ryan says he wants to make things right, but I don't see how he can. The damage feels so deep, and I don't know if I can ever trust him again. My sister thinks I should take some time to focus on myself, to figure out what I want, but even that feels overwhelming. How do you start over when everything you thought you knew has been turned upside down? Every time I try to imagine a future with Ryan, it feels tainted by everything that has happened, but when I think of a future without him, it feels empty. I keep wondering if this is something we can ever recover from. Is it possible to rebuild trust after such a betrayal? Or is this a sign that I need to let go and move on? For now, I'm staying here with my sister, trying to rebuild myself, one small moment at a time. Update 2. I've started looking into an annulment. It feels drastic, like I'm erasing everything Ryan and I ever had, but I can't see any other way forward. Trust is everything in a marriage, and Ryan shattered mine into pieces I can't imagine putting back together. Every time I think about the lies, the secrecy, and the way he let Jessica dominate what was supposed to be our day, I feel a knot in my chest. I contacted a lawyer to understand my options and was told that an annulment can be granted in cases of fraud. I feel like this qualifies. Ryan lied to me by omission about Jessica, the loan, and any kind of details she is using against him, and I entered into this marriage without knowing the whole truth. I feel like my choice was stolen from me, and I can't help but see that. My family has been incredible throughout all of this, which is the only thing that keeps me grounded. My parents, who are usually the work-it-out type, surprisingly supported my decision to consider an annulment. My father, who rarely gets emotional, told me that he just wants me to be happy and safe. My mother, who adored Ryan, admitted that she also feels betrayed. She keeps saying she can't believe he would let something like this happen, and that I deserve someone who puts me first. My sister has been my rock, letting me stay at her place and giving me all the space I need. She's also been subtly trying to cheer me up with little things like baking cookies or suggesting we watch old sitcoms. It helps, but only for a while. Ryan, on the other hand, is losing control. Yesterday, he showed up unannounced at my sister's house. I was in the kitchen when I heard the knock, and my heart sank when I saw him through the window. He looked a mess, unshaven, with dark circles under his eyes and clearly upset. I didn't want to let him in, but my sister convinced me to at least listen to him. He stood at the door begging me to come home. His voice broke as he apologized over and over again, saying he never meant to hurt me and that he is willing to do whatever it takes to make things right. I told him I needed space and asked him to leave. At first he resisted, saying he couldn't bear to be apart and that we needed to work this out together. Then he started to cry. I had never seen him cry before, not in the 3 years we had been together. It broke my heart to see him like that, but I stood my ground. I told him I couldn't think clearly with him there and that his emotions couldn't cloud my judgment. He finally left, but not before saying that he would wait as long as it took for me to forgive him. After he left, I fell apart. I felt like the bad guy, although I know I have every right to feel the way I do. It's so hard to reconcile the Ryan I fell in love with, the one who made me feel safe and loved, with the person he turned out to be. My sister reminded me that her tears don't erase what he did, and she's right, but that doesn't make it hurt any less. Since then, Ryan has been sending long, emotional messages every day. He keeps saying that he didn't tell me about Jessica because he was trying to protect me and that he never imagined she would go that far. He insists that he didn't invite her to the wedding and that he had no idea she would show up. He has also been trying to minimize what Jessica has against him, saying that he is not as bad as I think and that he is willing to confess everything if I give him the chance. But how can I trust anything he says now? It seems that every word out of his mouth is damage control, not genuine honesty. Meanwhile, I've been trying to rebuild the life I want to have from now on. Investigating an annulment has been overwhelming. The lawyer explained that I would need to prove fraud, which means documenting everything. Texts, emails, anything that shows that Ryan lied to me or withheld crucial information. It feels invasive and exhausting, but I know it's necessary. I also started going through our wedding photos to see if there is anything I want to keep. But every image feels tainted. Even the ones where I am smiling now seem like lies. I ended up closing the album and putting it away. Maybe one day I will be able to look at them without feeling this pain, but that day is not today. I have also been reflecting on the warning signs that I overlooked or ignored. One of my friends reminded me of something that happened last year. Ryan and I were planning a weekend trip, and suddenly he became nervous about his credit card. He said it was at its limit and asked if we could use mine instead. At the time, I didn't think much of it, but now I wonder if it was because of his debt to Jessica. Once again, we ran into someone who knew both him and Jessica, and Ryan became visibly uncomfortable. He changed the subject so quickly it felt abrupt, but I let it go because I didn't want to appear nosy. How many of these moments were warning signs that I ignored because I trusted him? To top it all off, Jessica hasn't left. She posted another cryptic message online, something about karma always finding its way. I blocked her from everything, but that didn't stop me from finding out through mutual acquaintances. One of Ryan's friends even approached me saying that Jessica has a reputation for being vindictive and that I shouldn't let her win. Win what? This isn't a game. It's my life, and she's already taken so much from me. I feel like I'm at a crossroads, and neither path feels easy. An annulment seems like the cleanest way out, but it's also final. Once I go down that road, there's no turning back. Part of me wonders if I should give Ryan a chance to prove himself, but another part of me screams that I deserve better. My sister keeps telling me to take things one step at a time, but even that feels too much some days. I'm stuck in this place and I don't know what the future holds or what I wanted to hold. Every decision feels heavy, as if it will shake up the rest of my life. All I know is that I can't stay in this place forever. Something has to give, and soon. Update 3. I officially filed for an annulment today. I never imagined I would be in this position, ending my marriage just days after it began. It has been the most difficult decision of my life, but deep down I know it is the right one. There is no way to salvage something built on half-truths and secrets. As much as it hurts, I can no longer ignore the obvious signs that Ryan was not the person I thought he was. Ryan has not stopped trying to communicate with me. His messages have been exhausting for me. One moment he is pouring his heart out, apologizing for everything, begging for another chance, and the next he is letting off steam, blaming Jessica completely and accusing me of giving up too easily. At first his words shook me. They made me question whether I was being too harsh or whether I should have tried harder to save us. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that this is not just about Jessica. It's about Ryan's inability to take responsibility for his actions, to face the consequences of his choices, and to be honest with me. Jessica may have been the match that lit the fire, but Ryan had been stacking the wood long before she came along. I spent a long time reflecting before making this decision. Over the last week, I've been going over every moment of our relationship and trying to understand how we got here. I remembered how, in the beginning, Ryan used to joke about being too good to be true. I laughed at the time, thinking he was just being modest. Now it feels like he's been hiding in plain sight. He always seemed so composed and in control of everything, and I admired that about him, but now I see that it was just a mask. He wasn't composed, he was compartmentalizing. Every part of his life was carefully boxed in, and I was only allowed to see the parts he wanted me to see. Although I have blocked Jessica on all platforms, it's not like she's disappeared. I've heard through mutual friends that she's been gloating about the chaos she caused, hinting that there are more secrets she could reveal. I don't know how much of that is true, or just her trying to stir the hornet's nest, but I refuse to let her have any more power over me. Her actions were cruel, but they weren't the root of the problem. If Ryan had been upfront from the start, if he had dealt with his baggage instead of hiding it, none of this would have happened. Applying for an annulment felt like the first real step towards regaining control of my life. The lawyer explained that it could take a while to finalize, but the legal process doesn't scare me. The hardest part is coming to terms with the emotional reality of it all. I thought I was marrying the love of my life, the person I would grow old with. Instead, I was marrying someone I didn't fully know, someone who couldn't be honest with me or with himself. That realization is devastating, but also liberating. My family has been my anchor through all of this. My mother accompanied me to the lawyer's office, holding my hand as I signed the documents. She told me she was proud of me for standing up for myself and refusing to settle for less than I deserved. My sister has been relentless in reminding me that this is just one chapter, not the whole story. She has already started planning a new beginnings party for me, which I initially thought was silly but now find pleasant. It's her way of showing me that there is life beyond this disaster, and I need that reminder. Ryan, however, doesn't seem to understand that it's over. Last night he showed up at my parents' house unannounced. I wasn't there, I was staying at my sister's, but my dad opened the door and firmly told him he didn't want to see him. Ryan apparently pleaded to speak to me, saying he deserved a chance to explain himself. My dad wouldn't budge, and Ryan eventually left, but the whole situation left me disturbed. I hate that he is involving my family in this. It is unfair and makes me question whether I ever really knew him. I have also been hearing rumors from people in Ryan's circle, friends, colleagues who have started to piece together what happened. Some have reached out to check on me, while others seem to be closing ranks around Ryan. A mutual friend even suggested that I was being too harsh and that I should give him a chance to make things right. That comment hurt. It also made me realize how quickly people judge situations they don't fully understand. Nobody knows how it felt to be there on my wedding day, watching it all fall apart. Nobody knows the weight of the lies Ryan brought into our marriage. As I write this, I am feeling many things. I am devastated, yes, but I also have hope. This whole experience has been a nightmare, but it has also been a wake-up call. I have learned that love alone is not enough. Trust, honesty, and respect are equally important, if not more so. Without these things, love is fragile, easily shattered by the weight of secrets and lies. I don't know exactly what the future holds for me, but I know that this isn't the end for me. It's just a new beginning. I've started thinking about the things I want to do for myself. Travel, take up new hobbies, maybe even move to a new city. For a long time, my life revolved around Ryan and our plans, but now I can create my own. It's both scary and exciting. As for Ryan, I wish him the best, even if he doesn't feel that way right now. I hope he learns from this and looks at himself honestly and makes the changes he needs to make. But that is no longer my responsibility. My job now is to heal, grow, and rebuild the life I deserve.